Nate here with Murray Farm and Ranch. Man, it's beautiful this evening. Green grass. You know what we don't have? It's a lot of wind. Oh man, this wind has been eating us up here in Oklahoma. But thankfully tonight it is nice and calm, which gives me an opportunity to get out here and do a little walk in the garden. I want to show you guys a couple of things. So this back here is some mushroom logs that I put together last year. These are on oak logs. Look what we got. Shiitake mushroom. And they're popping up all over the place. So I'm super excited about this for a variety of reasons. But I mean, look at that. I mean, this is, so let's kind of show you size wise what that thing looks like. Very excellent shiitake mushroom. I'm assuming that these other logs are going to start fruiting at any moment. I hope. I've got quite a few. I need to get them set out to where I can see the mushrooms a little better. But I'll definitely be harvesting these over the next couple of days. So these logs were my first swing at mushroom logs. And you know, I love mushrooms. They're a good source of vitamin D. There's, you know, some medicinal properties about mushrooms. And I'm just a big believer in a variety diet. I think that is, I think the more well-rounded, the more different kinds of things that you eat, the more likely you are to have, get all the vitamins and minerals that we're looking for to make a healthy body. And these mushroom logs are just like, it's super cool because I never expected to be able to grow mushrooms. I thought you had to, you know, grow mushrooms in the dark and, you know, caves or something. I don't know what I thought, but whatever I thought was wrong, because right there is some shiitake mushrooms growing on logs that I made, that I inoculated. And I'm just super pumped about that. Shiitakes are expensive, and once you get some mushroom logs established, you're talking like they'll fruit for like 5, 7, 10 years, depending on the size of the log and you know, how well of a log you preserved. So anyway, I'm super excited about those. That's just one kind of addition to what I would consider my perennial crops. And so yeah, thumbs up on mushroom logs. All right, so coming over to the garden area, we've got this fencing set up to keep the chickens out. Our chicken pen is right there, and I let them in as the stuff gets mature, but I don't like to let them in early on because they do a lot of damage. So those rows right there are some corn. This is some sweet corn that we've planted, coming up nicely. What I've got here, this right here is a tarp that I didn't plant in this bed right here last year. I didn't plant it at all, and so all summer and all fall, this tarp was rolled out and covered this ground, and it put a really good kill on the grass. And so now I have a fairly weed-free bed to plant in. Over time, I'm gonna mulch this. Yeah, I'll do a wood chip and compost type situation, and hopefully that will keep the weeds out. Now these other beds, look at all them little plants. Woo! So these beds are raised beds that they're 75 feet long. They're 30 inches wide, and they're raised about a foot. They have a walkway, so it's like walkway, bed, walkway, bed, walkway, bed, walkway. Tomato, 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 tomato. So basically we've got, I want to say there's 42 tomato plants in here on these. There's a mix variety. I want to talk to you a little bit about that. So I like to plant indeterminate tomatoes. I like heirloom varieties and I like indeterminate varieties. Indeterminates continue to grow the entire growing season. So there's no, they don't have a maximum yield or a maximum fruiting capacity. They grow and they grow and they grow and they grow as long as they have food, water, and it stays warm enough. And there's certain benefits to determinate plants. You know, if you were, for example, going to plant, 500 tomato plants and you had a crew coming in that was going to harvest that, you'd want them to fruit all at the same time instead of like some fruiting here and some fruiting there and some fruiting here. You'd want them to all just fruit. Well, that's where your determinate plants come in. I think they're better for like commercial crops and so forth. For us, I want a steady stream of tomato plants all summer, fall long. So I like indeterminate varieties. I like mix. I like old school, like cool colors, green zebra and Cherokee purple and Arkansas travelers. I mean, I love all those old school genetics, those old heirlooms. They're just wonderful, great tasting tomatoes. And as you can see, got a few of them. Lots of tomato sauce in our future. Got cabbages. I will pull these little protective cans off these cabbages here pretty quick. But we've had some hellacious winds, and so I wanted to protect them and let them kind of get set up. So where our cabbages end, we start getting back into some pepper plants. We've got a mix of hot peppers and sweet peppers and bell peppers. And this situation works really well for me as far as like a weeding situation. It's very clean. I basically just kind of have to worry around the outside edges, and I compost that really heavily. And so I don't get a whole ton of stuff growing up there. This row is cucumbers. And so this is kind of a similar situation to what we saw over here, where I didn't plant this, or I did plant this last year, and I did not have it covered in weed fabric, and so there was some grass and weeds and stuff that grew up. So what I'm doing this year is I put the tarp down in probably like January or so, absolutely wiping out the grass and weeds. And then what I'll do with these cucumbers is I'll build a trellis system so that they go out over this part of the garden where I'm not planting right now. And I'm just going to leave that on until probably the fall or maybe late summer if I want to do some secondary crops. So anyway, got lots of cucumbers. Coco the kitty. You guys know Coco. Coco kitty. A Coco kitty. A Coco kitty. He's a good boy. Moving on. I left a little gap, which technically this is supposed to be a walkway gap, but I thought, why not plant that in something this year? And so what I did is, there's kind of a mixed bag of things in here. This is some radishes. We've got a long stretch of onions. There's some English peas. Got back here, we've got tomatillos and tomatoes. Like we didn't have enough tomatoes. We didn't have enough tomatoes over there, so I thought I'd put some over here, just in case. Here we have, this is the start of squash and zucchini. And so squash and zucchini take up all these holes down here to the back, where guess what? I have more tomatoes. So I have a handful more of tomato plants. These are Arkansas Travelers and Better Boys, I believe. Beefsteak, I believe, is mixed in here. More onions. These onions are looking fantastic. I've already pulled a couple of these onions. We got some bush beans coming up. More onions. Radishes. And some of these radishes for sure need to get picked. Look at that. I mean, that's looking beautiful. I'm gonna have to get some of those. This little stretch has got some sort of bean planted, but I cannot remember what it is. And see, here's one coming up, coming up. So they're coming up all along this little walkway here, but I cannot remember what it was. Over here we have some mustard greens. Look at those. This stuff is so amazingly good. I'll just pick it sometimes and just eat it. Mustard, I promise you, this stuff is so amazing. I can just eat it right out of the garden. Love how it has a spicy little kick to it. Love to mix that in with eggs. Throw a couple of strands of this in with your salad. It's just so good. There's not much that beats a good mustard green. Moving on. This is another part of our perennial system. This is an asparagus bed. I planted these last year, and I believe that I planted like 18 or 19 crowns, and 15 of them has sprouted back, which is pretty good. I am going to intercrop this with strawberries eventually, but I just didn't get it done this year. Something I should have done, just didn't. But I'm very excited about this. I love crops that once you get them established, you've got them for 5, 6, 7 years or longer. I've really gotten into getting getting perennial crops set up. I just think that it's easy to. It's not easy. Let me back up. It's not easy getting them established. It's a lot of work to plant things like fruit trees and pecan trees and grapevines and so forth. But the dividends are so huge once you get them set up. I mean, it's like they produce every year and relatively easily. So here is a peach tree. This is its second year in the ground. Here is another peach tree right there. This is its third year. It's a pretty good sized tree at this point. I mean, it's probably 10 or so feet tall. So there's a little pear. I mean, not a pear, peach, sorry. Has a peach on it. You can see little peaches. There's a couple. So they're definitely, it's gonna make a few peaches this year. So I'm pretty excited about that. That tree is in very good condition. So super excited about that. Got some herbs. So some chives for our baked potatoes. A couple of different varieties of basil. Some chamomile. Oregano. Cilantro. Let's see here. What else do we got to show you guys? Oh, hey chickies. Hey chickies. 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 You want to say hi? No? Our ladies, they got it going on. They got some, look at that. I put out some cracked corn for them. They're loving life. Don't got to worry about any bird flu with these old girls. No bird flu. Whoop, 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 whoop. All right, so another peach tree, apple tree. Got a cherry tree over here. It doesn't look super amazing. It did produce a cherry last year, And it actually, look at there, it has some blooms on it. I don't know that it's going to do much. I'm going to have to see what I can't do to try to give this one some TLC. So, another couple of perennials. Some grapevine. So, grapevine coming up. This is its first year in the ground. I planted these this winter. Here's another one. Here's one that I don't think is going to make it. I'll probably replant this one next year if it doesn't. I spaced them about 8 to 10 feet apart, and I kind of just had this envision that I would just kind of have this whole fence line just kind of covered up with grapevine. Here's another grapevine. And then right here, this is for our old buddy Samuel. These are a variety of thornless blackberries. So these things won't eat you to pieces, which I'm very excited about. I planted 10 of these from kind of shoots that I got from a patient of mine. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So out of 8, or out of 10, I got 8 coming back up. And I feel like once these things are, you know, halfway established, they're going to do a really good. The patient of mine said that you can't get rid of them once you get them established good. So I'm hoping that's the case. Hey, Coco, back for more loving. And another grapevine. This one is kind of lagging behind, but it's got a leaf coming out, so it looks like it's going to be okay. So guys, that's kind of a quick rundown of the garden. Man, I mean, there's a lot of food that comes out of this thing. You know, we produce so many meals come from this garden. You know, from making, you know, cream corn to throwing some corn on the grill, okra, you know, fried okra, boiled okra, baking it, all the different beans and peas, and I mean, there's just like during the summer months and fall, there won't be a meal at our table that doesn't have something from our garden. And a lot of our meals, the whole thing is from our garden. And it's really not that much work. You know, I put in some groundwork by making these beds and laying down the tarps and putting the weed fabric in. But now it's just kind of on cruise control. And all I got to do is come out here and pick it and make sure that it's watered and throw a little fertilizer here and there, compost it up. Man, nothing beats it. Nothing beats it. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little garden walkthrough. It's just a beautiful evening, and I thought, you know, let's get out in the garden. Let's show some folks what we got going on. Maybe we could encourage somebody to start their little garden patch. But you know, you don't have to start big like that. Start small. Just get something in the ground. Get a little window container plant, something to, you know, some basil or some herbs that you can go clip from. And I promise you, if you get that bug, that garden bug, and you start to utilize your stuff, you'll be hooked. And every year it'll grow. You'll grow it a little bigger. You'll add more things. Whoop! There's Coco. Coco is in. I'm getting some camera time tonight. Till next time, guys. God bless.